be a little bit flexible with that. Hi guys, welcome to the show. Today it's the episode 17 on AI on air, and welcome Hojin to our show, and really appreciate your time and sharing your insights with us. So maybe to kick off the conversation, would love to have a quick self intro from your side to introduce yourself about your background and what you are doing at Hash, the open finance for that. Yeah,
for sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the time today. My name is Hojin. I'm reading subsidiaries under Hashed umbrella. Hashed is as you all know, we are one of the leading Web3 venture capital based in Asia. Now we have office in Seoul, Singapore, San Francisco, and Abu Dhabi, and Bangkok, and we also have a subsidiary fund in Bangalore, India. So now we are covering the entire Asia and also states. And we founded in 2017, we have invested to more than 200 portfolios so far, and making about dozen of unicorns. And so we are one of the very first and very renowned early investors in this Web3 market. And especially one of the unique point of the Hash is because our founding partners are all has a entrepreneur background. They started a Hash after exiting their own startup, so we have an entrepreneur DNA. So we usually describe ourselves as a ecosystem builder, not just as a venture capital. It means that on the side of the venture capital investment, we also do some many ecosystem building activities, something like a venture building and hosting a big conference and etc. So now I'm leading the venture building part, which means that having a strategic business with other company as a joint business or with our own. And Hashed Open Finance is a fintech arm of the Hashed, finding an opportunity in stablecoin art and RWA tokenization and so-called on-chain finance area, and obviously including the agentic finance DT part as well. And I'm also reading a Shardab at the same time. Shardab is a strategic fintech R&D entity for Southeast Asia, and we are partnering with the SCBX, the largest financial conglomerate in Thailand, and to build a stablecoin and on-chain finance infrastructure for future. And personally, I majored in computer science. I was a software engineer back at the times. And after that, I was a quant engineer dealing with credit derivatives, the one which occurred a global financial crisis in late 2000, which is shown in the movie Big Short. And after that, I was in consultancy. I worked about 5 years at BCG, Frozen Consulting Group, usually covering the financial institutions and digital DD market. And after that, I joined Hash and reading several strategic initiatives under umbrella.
Very cool. Very rich experience, definitely. Across Web2 to Web3 now, probably like bridging the two words together from a 2.5 perspective. And then, love to dive into some of the episode theme right away. And today, actually, I would focus more questions around some sovereign agent finance topics from KRW, stablecoins, compliance, and of course, everybody's talking about machine payments or agentic payments. So to give the audience some of the background about hash the open finance. Besides what Hojin mentioned, it was earlier this year in January. You guys released the Maroo light paper, and 4 months later, you guys launched the public testnet for a Korean KRW native layer 1 with building compliance and agent identity. And right now, we all know that the Korean market overall has been, especially for like the stablecoin debates and progress, is moving from the policy discussion to now like some of the more like implementation and infrastructure design and everything. So from that manner, we want to dive into initially from the Marin first. So what makes you guys, first of all, actually even before we go inside, I would love to help the audience understand the Korea as a market overall better. First, I'm curious what do you think for outsiders? Because we have so many impressions about Korean market in general, especially from financial crypto market perspective. I'm curious, what do you feel is usually misunderstood about Korean's financial environment and industry, from payment banking to regulatory environment perspective? Like, what is the part you felt you guys have been misunderstood the most by outsiders? Yeah.
The most, yeah. When I had many experiences of meeting with the financial institutions abroad and also Web3 players abroad and so on. And everyone thinks that Koreans are, and usually the Web3 market, they all started talking with the Korean Bitcoin trading volume, because sometimes a KRW BTC trading volume, sometimes they have a much more volume than the USD BTC pair. So it means that Koreans are very, very investing into crypto and very crypto savvy. But I would say that I cannot say it's a misunderstanding, but I can say that yes, it is. So many people, like even my mom and dad, they invested into crypto, and the reason, but I cannot say that the Koreans, for example, infrastructure for the stablecoin or blockchain infrastructure is already adopted, because, for example, people only still have a centralized exchange wallet, and they just know how to buy crypto, and they still have no idea what kind of beneficial point could be happened using a crypto thing. So they just are trading a Bitcoin or a digital asset, virtual asset, just as one of the risky but highly, high return instrument, and that's all. So when I discuss about the crypto adoption of Korean market, yes, it is very high for the crypto adoption, but maybe on-chain adoption is not enough high that much, but also comparably high if we compare it with the other nations. So that's a yes and no question, I believe.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And this reminder also some of the, like I realized in the industry, people have some like stereotype or like some common, views on the Korean crypto market. For example, if you get listed on some of the Korean biggest exchanges, like Upbit or others, then if it doesn't have the KRW pair, it means that you don't really have the access. Like, it has to be like the liquidity again from the KRW pair versus compared to BTC pair is much larger. So that's why people are like, Korean really loves crypto, and they really like to trade with
yeah, I think Koreans are in if we just compare some kind of average risk appetite for investment, Koreans are quite aggressive, I believe. And that's why when some good project is being listed in KRW market, people also say have more concentration on that project. It makes a more liquidity to comes in. But I think still our the exchange market is quite also say separated. It's not fully open for with a global. It means it makes a kimchi premium, as you know, right?
Exactly.
So I think we still have some homework to go further for the Korean market to become the real one of the promising and important pillar market for the global digital asset industry.
Makes sense. And also, I think one thing I really like what the insight you shared is actually the volume, the trading volume of crypto, especially altcoins at in the Korean market, is not equivalent to the on-chain adoption of the like a real like a crypto native protocols and solutions in this market, because people are more viewing crypto as an investment instrument or asset, rather than like something to combined with let's say a technology or like a protocol that they can use daily. So that's why I felt probably that's also we can see recently with the AI boom, a lot of like the semiconductor stocks has been performing so well and has been a great investment instrument. Then a lot of the liquidity, actually not only in the Korean market, I felt like globally has been really got attracted by more of those stock market than some of the other assets, including some of the crypto assets.
Yeah, absolutely agree, absolutely. Because as you mentioned, it's a global phenomenon, but especially the Korean stocks in semiconductor industry has boomed so much. They make 3x, 4x within just a single year. So it makes more liquidity comes to the Korean stock exchange market, especially even rather than the US market. So it means that I totally agree with your idea, and in terms of the amount of the movement, the Korean market to change the transition from a digital asset market to the exchange market was insanely huge due to that, because people who had a similar risk appetite on investment, they treat a semiconductor industry just as a crypto market, because it can get a high return in a short term.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Actually, then I'm also curious about your view on institutions. Given that we actually just chat about all the semiconductor companies are big companies, and one thing I realized, I have been visiting Korea first of all so many times. In the last few years in the crypto industry, because again, you guys are of the largest market. And one thing that I start recognizing more during those trips is I felt the attitude and the adoption between the retails and institutional or enterprises are different, or more different than I thought. Because initially, when I think, oh, if the trading volume at Korean is so high, that probably means that the country is very crypto friendly and crypto, like a forward. But on the other side, I felt for when it comes to institutions and even like a stable coin, like a lot of like the regulatory discussion and like policy debates and everything makes me realize seems like from industry regulatory environment perspective, it's still figuring out itself. So that's why I'm curious from like again an insider perspective, what's your comments and what's your view on this?
Exactly. And I think that even in conglomerate or institution, we have a two parties. The first one is some investment related institution, like brokerage firms or security firms, right? they are very bullish in crypto market, and especially this tokenized stock market. So recently, as you know, the Coin One, the Meta Asset, one of the largest stock brokerage company in Korea, they acquired a Kobit, which is one of the local exchanges, and also Coin One, they got a co-investment from a Korea Trade, the Korea Investment, one of the largest brokerage firm, and OKX at the same time, right? It means that because I think, for example, bit ETF comes up, it's gonna be quite popular in Korea because they as mentioned, they treat the retailers are treat it as a investment instrument, usually. So right there, the companies, the institutions who are dealing a investor as a customer, they're very aggressive and investing into crypto markets, starting with the exchanges, because they think that exchange is a kind of it's a kind of brokerage for a tokenized assets. But at the same time, the banks or credit card companies, something more payment settlement and borrowing, I would say industry, they are more regulatory sensitive, because in Korea, Bank Act is much more sensitive than the some investor, the what's say brokerage act. So they are just they are borrowing the our regulators what's the movement and the vision on this market. So they cannot. So I think that's the one reason, because as you mentioned, the adoption rate as a crypto investor and a on-chain customer in Korea is still, we have a gap. So the conglomerates who are facing the customer as a investor, they are very active, but on the other side, they are still monitoring the market. But with the new administration, now it has been just 1 year since we had a new administration in Korea. One of the administrations, the pledge was to register the digital market fundamental act, which includes a more precise definition of the digital asset industry, and also stablecoin, Korean one stablecoin license. So I think sooner or later, in the near future, I think more active movement from the bank side will be happen. And one of the evidence is that recently the Hana Bank, one of the four largest bank in Korea, they announced a billion worth stock acquisition of the outfit. It is, and also Samsung card and Samsung financial, some of the Samsung affiliate in financial industry also bought it, about a half billion worth of the office share at the same time. So I think it is, we are just facing the very early stage on adopting a non-investment use case of the crypto and digital asset in Korean market.
Gotcha. Actually, you mentioned the new government, the administration office is pushing, like a lot of laws and regulation clarities forward. Curious, do you guys have something similar as what Clarity Act is, like drafted in US? Do you guys are like having something coming out as a Korean version of Clarity Act that's
Yeah,
set up a
yeah,
lot of clarity?
yeah, quite similar. So in the States, they have a Genius Act, which is making a stablecoin issuance to be clear, and Clarity Act is more about the rules on the market competition using a stablecoin. But in Korea now, the government is making one big deal, which is called a Digital Asset Fundamental Act, or Digital Asset Basic Act, which defines a different kind of digital asset business license and some requirements on that. So as a one part, the Korean one stablecoin is included, and also a more precise definition of the centralized exchange license is also included. So it's a very comprehensive act. And now that the bill draft has been drawn, not only by the administration but by some of the lawmakers at the same time, and now it's in a committee in our National Assembly. And I think people are expecting that maybe within this year or maybe early next year it will be passed. Yeah, so that bill will be quite the one big solution for that. But and at the same time, the lawmakers passed a STO bill, so-called STO bill, which introducing the STO license. So now, it's gonna be effective from starting next year, the January 1st next year. So after that, the STO issuance and STO distribution license will be introduced, so that in Korea many RWAs now can be tokenized and now can has a legal, what's to say, the status, to which could be traded in the market, and also some of the rights of the token holder could be, let's say, backed by the local regulation and law.
Got it. Very, very cool. So it seems like it's all combined together and trying to make some big step forward altogether.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in this case, actually, yeah, we talked about, like you mentioned, this act has also included a Korean one based stablecoin as part of the rule clarity. Then let's go to a little bit on the local currency infra part. So usually now, like nowadays in globally, if we are talking about stablecoin, that's usually is through a US lens, right? So curious, like in Korea, well, if you ask people theoretically, you will. It's easy to answer or like explain why do you want to have a local currency based stablecoin and infrastructure. But curious, like from a practical perspective, what do you think is the like advantage of building because because I want to get into Maroo a little bit more later on as well, because you guys are building Maroo as a layer one that is kind of focusing on Korean one based stablecoin, right? Like, what is the advantage of using KRW versus, let's say, just use USDC, USDT, which is US dollar backed stablecoin? And why do you need to build a specific layer one for that?
Yes, for sure. So I think we have a short-term rationale and long-term rationale, and I think more in a short-term rationale, as I mentioned, because sometimes Korean one BTC trade pair trading volume exceed a USD one. It means the Korean stock, the crypto market is very, very huge, but we still just having a KRW BTC pair, which is not a stablecoin pair. It makes every single transaction and trade happening here makes more ineffective in terms of the costs, the capital cost and time cost, and another reason why because the Koreans I think smartphone adoption in Korean market is 100%. Every single one has, and also some digital bank and many adoptions are hitting the one of the state of art level in across the globe. So I think adopting a digital currency is inevitable, but and it's essential. But now I think we think that due to this the power of the programmability and smart contract, so we think just not adopting a digital the currency is the answer for the digitalized economy. And if we go further, entire Korean economy is seeking for a next step as a national the development and growth. And one of the if we just look into this Korean market, one of we have some strengths in first thing is in AI, and Koreans are Korea is a quite unique market because we are covering the every single value chain of the AI, because we have a chip maker, and we also have some local LLM provider. And because in Hugging Face or in many Euro IPS, the one of the leading the AI conferences, Koreans are number 3 in terms of the quantity and quality of the paper or research and the LLMs. Obviously, number 1, 2, and number 1 and 2 is US and China, and we also have some the manufacturing the basis, right? For example, now Hyundai Motors has a Boston Dynamics, which is one of the leading robotics players, and we also have a car makers. We also have a robotics makers, and so for example, just last week, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA has visited Korea and met so many different kind of the big conglomerates and startup ecosystem in AI, and it covers the entire value chain. And I think the agentic finance, agentic payment part should be the very right part of this value chain, and Korean the market and Korean government also seek treating this to be the next big the opportunity for the entire Korean economy, because we think that the using the AI revolution, the Korean economy have to get one step forward to become more globalized manner. So as a agentic infra, we treat a stablecoin as a key the key one of the key component of the future infrastructure and value chain. So that's why we are quite pushing the Korean Won stablecoin initiative. So because we are not USD, we are not Chinese yuan, we have to the having the stablecoin only makes the transaction digitalized. But with the agent infrastructure, with the stablecoin, and also more AI value chain, we can make the end-to-end a platform and ecosystem for the future AI economy and AI ecosystem. So that will be the more broadened and large picture of a Korean society and Korean government and a Korean ecosystem have on on deep in mind for the reason why we are pushing the stablecoin, local stablecoin.
Got it. And so actually, based on what you mentioned, I guess one vision or one principle you guys have is about like AI agents probably sometimes need a local money, right? Like need the local currency for the payments as a like I would imagine when it's come to especially like local services like e-commerce when you're shopping something, then probably it's easier for other side to use the local currency to accept the payments. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think yeah, for sure, for sure. For example, now I think maybe if we define a e-commerce market share of my, for example, usual expenditure, it would be 95%, I believe. The Korean. So we just were using a digital infrastructure not only for the payment itself, but for in every single lifestyle behavior what we have, and that's why the what's the non-financial companies like Naver, Kakao, Toast, or big techs, local big techs is also jump into the stablecoin DT market. For example, one of the example was to say the in Korea, the number one market share of the e-commerce payment is Naver Shopping. Naver is a Korean Google. It's a searching engine, but people started to use this search engine to find what they want to buy in a e-commerce, and they just link to the end merchandise site, and at that time we can use a Naver Pay payment infrastructure. And Kakao is started from the instant message manager. So in Kakao, many people is using Kakao Pay to send some money to others, like Venmo, or also people usually buys in Kakao shop some kind of gift, birthday gift or something, to send it to opposite, because we can just buy something while chatting inside of the chatting room. And Toast, it started as real Korean Venmo. It started as a Korean Venmo. So something like that. So every different player has unique different user experience right now. So that is another some interesting point of the Korean market, because we can start. So I think the when we define a on-chain the penetration, on-chain adoption rate, what we have discussed a little bit earlier, I think we have to measure the how much percentage of my user use case, user customer journey could be covered by a on-chain infrastructure, right? But like this, when I want to buy some um, Diet Coke to fill my fridge, I use a neighbor. And when I just try to book a restaurant, I use Kakao. And when I try to send some money to my friends, I use Toast. But yeah, like this, because every use cases is now diversified and they are all seeking into this market. I think it would be much, what's the it would be accelerate the adoption of the so-called on-chain the penetration rate, on-chain adoption rate of a single individual and for the whole nationwide. So that is another interesting point, because banks and the credit cards, payment and financial traditional financial companies are also pushing it into market. But one of the interesting point of that is the lifestyle platform who are covering different kind of use cases are also jumping into market, and to who seek to make the entire customer journey to be more agentic manner with the agentic payment. So maybe in the future, I will use neighbor by using my agent, and I will use the Kakao the present was the giving the feature also using my agent, and Venmo thing toss this Venmo thing also using my payments, right? The agent, right? So something like that. So they are started to adopt this journey into a agentic manner from a different kind of perspective, and this will make the was a the comprehensive adoption to be more exercise the accelerated rather than other countries across the globe.
Got it, got it. Actually, very agree. So, you say if let's say if agent
Mm.
payments preferred, or like stablecoin or on-chain based stack is a good a solution for agentic payments, and all different players are pushing the boundary or like the adoption of agentic payments from their customer side, because they want to enable those, like no matter Naver or Kakao or Toast want to enable their services for agentic use cases as well. Then that's what increase the stablecoin on-chain or on-chain adoption. But actually, I'm curious, even like without agentic use case, did you see those different players also adopting stablecoin more, or actually you envision that will be a majorly driven by AI use cases or like agentic use cases in the future?
First of all the every single market players in Korean market, they understand a huge potential the combining with crypto, especially stablecoin and AI. So the reason why the every single players in Korean market is the looking into a stablecoin is because of the agentic experience. So I cannot say that now. I cannot say anything without AI agent for a stablecoin, especially in Korea. So and
Okay.
so that's the thing, because it is it could be because of it is fast or and cheap, but at the same time because of the programmability. of the smart contract, because now we are into the more, let's say, some improvement area we should solve. For example, imagine that I asked my agent to book my flight to Japan maybe for my next vacation in July or August. Yeah, just imagine that use cases. I would say I'm personally using uh, the 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 OpenCrow and also Hermes agent for my agent, and I usually just ask my agent to, hey, my agent, book my flight ticket to Tokyo for next month if the price is less than $300, right? Like this, right? But with the current transition infrastructure, my agent can send a alarm if it find a right deal under my instruction, but it cannot pay. It cannot confirm, right? It they yeah they could find some cheap flight ticket at 4 a.m. In the morning, but I should the one who have to pay it, right? Because that is because of uh, the because of the time gap between my instruction time and the execution time of the agent, right? Because at the execution time, at the payment time, the system does not know that whether this agent is mine, this transaction request is valid or not, whether it's a fraud or it's being hacked or not, right? So, and in the future, the KYA, so-called KYA, would be more complicated because like my agent, someone could have their own agent under my own laptop, my own iMac, but maybe the Korean Air would have a similar agentic the services for others, right? And also some third-party the travel agency could have. So now the KYA could be more complicated, right? Oh, who who is your owner and who is the commander of this transaction? Because the owner, operator, and the commander could be all separated and different, right? Because yeah, commander could be someone who live in Korea but using some Japanese travel agency, and that Japanese travel agency also can use some third party agent solution, right? So like this. So and also the rule of what's the uh, the 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 framework, the approval framework for my agent could be also complicated because now I cannot just make a, for example, the amount threshold only. For example, I just requested to my agent to pay a Tokyo flight ticket which is less than $300. Then is making 300 to become a threshold to approve my transaction would be enough? It's not enough. If it's get hacked, a hacker just can't have so many transactions under $300. And should I just what's the make a restriction to pay in Korean only? It could not. It is not the right answer, right? So we need an entire new standard, entire new approach to check whether this request and transaction made by my agent is rigid and valid or not, right? So and that because of that, every single player in Korea knows that, oh, the making the agentic payment infra is not just adding one agent in a current infra. It should be a making a entirely different new generation agentic infrastructure, right? So that's why every single the companies and big giants, especially tech giants, are understanding the power and potential of the smart contract and programmability of the blockchain, and they think the stablecoin is a agentic native currency for a agentic currency, agentic economy. So I personally usually use this phrase to double line the importance of the stablecoin, because we cannot build a agentic economy without having agentic currency. And then I believe a stablecoin is an agentic currency, not only because of it's cheap and faster, but due to the programmability and feature of powered by blockchain. And I think Kite has a very similar what's the perspective and point of view on this, and that's why we are also very feeling interested and quite bullish on Kite.
Thank you. I really appreciate the comment of Kite, but very agree with what you just mentioned. And we, since day one, when we are building Kite and think about approach in general, like agent payments and economy perspective, we felt the payments, the currency, and the identity piece is pretty much not separable, because because in the end of the day, whenever it involves money, especially when it comes to payment transaction, it's all about the trust. Or like you can call it like a trusted a transaction or a trustless transaction. But the key point is you don't want to regret if something goes wrong. So that's why you want to do tons of verification and tons of authentication and authorization in the process. So in that case, then how do you actually, under what circumstances, then you will authorize this transaction? Is something that I think even like in the now agent, like pre-agent area, it's such a big design philosophy across like a card network, like how Visa and MasterCard design their token system, and like pass the data information to verify whether this is like a legit transaction or we should potentially decline that. And similar to what card issuers like Chase Bank and those companies are doing. Nowadays, it's the same thing that agentic payments and agentic economy need to figure out. And definitely agree that blockchain-based approach is something that we see tons of potential. But obviously, we also saw that some of the non-blockchain approach that's launched by both the AI startups and some of the big companies like Microsoft, that like how they're handling agent identities through some sandbox environments, runtime ID, and all those stuff. So it's getting quite interesting to see how everybody
sure. Yeah, I think a vision for for the at the end of the day vision, everyone is gonna be same, but it's a matter of the philosophy, I think, because as you mentioned, I think we truly believe the Web3 value. It means that having a trustless structure is the most trusted one, right? Yeah, but maybe some other companies should just leveraging their level of the trust, yeah, to build a trust the structure. So it's a I think it's a matter of the philosophy, but not because of the not because they don't believe this future. So I think but this agentic payment infra layer is quite common layer, quite fundamental layer and common layer, which should be open layer. So that would be another comparing part, and another some compare the part with the competitive advantage for the blockchain rather than non-blockchain powered infrastructure, because this payment layer should be open to everyone, and blockchain is literally open from nature and literally trustless. Yeah, no single the party can control and hold this, right? So yeah, that in the future, in at the end of the day, this would become more important, because now it makes every single the offline the the activities on transfer into online and on chain. It means that people will care more of the privacy, more care about the level of the trust, more care about the data ownership kind of thing, right? So I think yeah, we believe that on-chain infrastructure would be selected by most of the users because of that the philosophy.
Got it. Actually, curious like, for you guys, how are you guys thinking and potentially even like designing the privacy piece? Meaning that when it comes to agentic payments, obviously, tons of information. In general, like just the two payments, a lot of information probably is sensitive. That to people, not only for enterprise but for individuals, the same. So that's why to not everything that is what we also recognized during the partnership and collaboration with some of the clients. We realize to them a lot of the information they want to purposely hide away from the public. So and preferably that's should even be keep off chain. So that's then we start with like kind of like look through all the details, transaction details of like a payments information and separate them from what is the thing that we want to, let's say, even completely keep off chain. What is the thing that we want to keep on chain but hide away from people like a musket? And what is the thing that can be on chain and visible to other people, and they feel no issues. So yeah, just curious about
Yes.
you guys are thinking.
So I think for the on-chain validation, I think the most important part is the to meet the requirements of the local compliance, right? So for example, in Korea, if we send more than 10K USD to abroad, we have to give a notice to our government, right? So, for example, in that case, a government and regulators will care whether my transaction exceed a 10K or not, but they don't have any interest to see my exact number, exact figure, how much of money I'm sending it, right? So like this, if it is different sovereignties, every different regulators would have their own the regulatory framework. So what we need to keep in on chain and keep which cannot be manipulated is whether to check this transaction is eligible to a also the designated the regulatory framework of a designated countries. So that's why we made so-called programmable compliance layer in Maroo, our layer one, which means that it's a compliance layer, but it's a programmable. So it finds a right compliance layer just by checking the KY8 information. So that who is the beneficial owner of the sender and receiver, and to find the what kind of which countries and which regulatory framework is should be adopted, and you're gonna store only for example the whether the conditions by the each government regulation is what to say the is the applicable in our own chain, so that it makes a fully trustable to regulators. Oh, we should adopt this kind of the taxation clause or this kind of the AML clause to which guaranteed by the on-chain infrastructure. So like this. So we want to so we need to make the compliance the journey to be programmable and also very capable, while keeping the raw data to be let's say undisclosed. So that would be the answer for this question.
Actually, it's quite interesting that how you guys are designing that, which also partially answered my next question, which initially I was trying to ask follow-up questions that I felt Korean has a very different identity and compliance environment from the US, for example? And then in that case, how does how would that shape when AI agents are using Maroo? Or like how do you decide the transaction, the payment method, not the payment method, but more like the framework and regulations you guys are going to follow? It's sort of like what you just mentioned, because you guys will check where the recipient and sender are sitting, and based on the local regulations, you guys will choose basically the best method and data preserve for them, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. So, for example, if I send my money to some of the Japanese friends using my AI, then our KYA system will figure out who is the sender. Oh, sender is a Korean, and receiver is a Japanese. Oh, we need to have a Forex regulatory framework for Korean sender and Japanese sender, just Japanese receiver, right? So for Korean sender, yeah, our government will not care if my amount of send is less than 10K. And I don't know about the Japanese law, but Japanese law could be quite different for the receiver, especially, right? And 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 so and whether and if it could be done without any approval, the transaction will be just happen. And for the regulatory perspective, sometimes our regulation, every single company's regulation, it is not very simple and digital. For example, they let everything to do it if it bit or say falls to any the predefined condition. But sometimes in Korea, if I send them more than 10K, I have to give them a report. But it is not a approval. But it exceeds some more the trend the what's if it meets a additional condition, we have to get approval from BOK. So sometimes it could be just notice, it could be a approval, right? So this can be uh, the efficiency can be maximized if we combine with it into a smart contract. So we are gonna make the smart contract for the regulators, and which our payment master will find what kind of the what kind of countries regulatory the regulations smart contract is reliable for this one. So I think that and a something called the legal oracle will be, which is gonna be developed and almost developed. It's gonna transfer this written uh, rule of game for every different kind of different countries into smart contract, so that some new law and new regulation passage happened in Japanese. Our the module for the Japanese the regulate the compliance layer will be also changed because due to the change of the legal oracle. So like this, we are trying to minimize the gap of the chain the regulation the regulatory experience with a on-chain regulatory experience, so that the government can deal the exact same the law enforcement could be happen, and it's gonna be beneficial for the users as well, because it makes no lag on the transaction. Because if I have already prepared for the some AML documenting or something, yeah, the transaction will just the executed, because it will find the right path, right regulatory path by smart contract, and just execute it, right? So it will make the minimum the what to say the no vague and ambiguous lagging would be happen, and it also will makes the law enforcement to be transparent, so everyone can just see and make this entire journey to be more trustless and yeah and precise and transparent.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Actually curious, besides legal oracle, are you guys building any other oracle to, fetch important data for because I think this legal framework or legal compliance rules tracking is a quite smart way to approach, particularly if you guys are approaching some of the serious businesses and the enterprise partners. I do think that's just something that they absolutely need. But anything else that any other like important data that you guys want to make sure that you guys are keep updating this on their
So for example, so something called in legal oracle, there is a real act, but it's some kind of which can be also say changed only by the lawmakers. But there is some executive order, right, which is done by the administrative, and there is some code rule which is by the taxation office. So it also has a different kind of layer in terms of the regulation, right? So what we are trying to do is to make the precise the structure for this. And we also believe that we cannot build this oracle by our own only, right? Sometimes we have a help from the local regulators, but especially we believe that we need to have more partners across the globe who can take care of their country's own legal oracle thing, right? So I think so we cannot say we are just making this legal oracle by our own hands only, but we are partnering with some potential the global partners to build a comprehensive Oracle system for this, and then we try to make it more open manner.
Gotcha. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Then I think we'll move to one of the last questions that usually we'll ask our guests, and trying to get their opinions about some of the future. It's like more like a prediction. So I'm curious, like in Korean, from your view, who do you feel is more likely or most likely to lead the Asian finance or like a agentic commerce first? Probably more from like a agentic finance perspective, because this is more like a financial industry landscape. But like from bank to fintech apps to large platform, or like a AI native startups, or even like a regulators. Who do you think will make the first the real push, or like the real kind of like adoption efforts that might be recognized? And then if you even want to rank them, I'm curious about your thoughts. Like, who do you think will come in first?
Interesting question, but I think especially in Korean market now, and not only for the Korean market, but for the US market, I believe. I think the so-called border between the industry, border between the license is becoming shadow, right? So now, for example, Soko is pursuing for get the bank license, and for example, Clarity Act is about the interest, which was a only was a which was a exclusive thing for banks back in the days, right? It means that now, but everyone can give a yield, everyone can give an interest. So that is why the Clarity Act become the so-called a battleground for the every different kind of market players, right? Right. I believe that especially in Korea as well, the definition of the license, definition of the industry is becoming shadow and becoming no meaning at all. So I believe that this is not a fight between the industries, but just the fight between the companies. So for example, in Korea, we have we about several years ago we introduced a virtual bank license. So at that time, the Kakao and Toast made their own bank, and we also have a K Bank, which is a telcos bank made by KT, Korean Telecom. And after the introduction of the virtual bank, the existing bank's mobile application gets very improved right now because of e-commerce. Kakao, Toast, they are very good at user experience, and after that, because they just made the very first bank application using a base ID and only. So after that, all existing players like Shinhan, Udi, they make the very distant the UI for their application. So their application is very good as well. So it makes improvement for the entire market, not only for not for a single party only. So that's why, and for example, for a Korean one stablecoin license, our draft bill is actually requiring to have a so-called consortium, not by a single party, and they would require a the bank, but also the non-bank companies as well, the big techs. So it means that now I think for a stablecoin issuers, there would happen many so-called alliance between the banks and the big techs and also lifestyle platform. For example, as you know, the neighbor acquired Orbit. Still, it is in the table of our regulators to approve. It has been not approved, but they acquired, and Hana Bank also acquired some meaningful shares of that. Right? It means that now it is not a fight for between a bank and the fintech. It is a fight between a one alliance and another alliance, which is consisting with different kind of players, especially the market like Korea. Maybe every single country's market except US and China, which is very big. Other countries, because like Korea, the Korean one is not a reserve currency. This currency is just quite local currency, right? Right. Other maybe 197 countries around the world, their market is not enough to fight for dozens of the players for the stablecoin, right? So I think more alliance will become, and to make 2, 3, or 4 or 5 alliance, which is consisting with a different kind of the unique players, and then we're going to compete in a single battlefield. So I cannot say a single one of the single players to lead the company, but I can say that a one alliance who has more broader partnership, more innovative player would be win, and yeah, bank only cannot win, the big tech only cannot win, but some more open and comprehensive alliance could be the winner of this market.
Yeah, actually, I really like the angle you are phrasing this, because if you look at recently what happened with all the big tech and fintech giants in the US, how they're approaching stablecoin or agentic commerce is very much from a aliens like approach and playbook, because this reminded me about like just the last week there's the announcement that saying the Stripe, Visa, and Mastercard and Coinbase, they're considering that coming together to build a new stablecoin platform. And this is a typical alliance. And on the other side, you see like a Visa launched a bunch of their own protocol from a general payments perspective, like the Visa Intelligence Commerce. And today, Mastercard just announced their agent machine payment protocol with many a long list of launch partners. So yeah, everybody's building out their own tribe.
Yes, right. And
We'll see.
I think since USD market is a big, and USD is a currency for the globe, for the planet, not for the US only. So that's why some even a single play could be happen. But as mentioned, even in that USD market, the tribe and alliance and partnership is happening. And the country like Korea, which is very much smaller than the States, yeah, there's no other choice. Without having a partnership and alliance, it could be very tough to win the market and to make it more global. So I think it's gonna be adapted to other countries as well, not only for the Korea, but for example for, I don't know, Singapore, Hong Kong, or maybe in some the British pound or something. Yeah, for the countries or currencies which is not a non-reserve currencies, they would have a similar the restrictions on the market, and the market landscape could become quite similar with Korean one.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I felt I cannot speak of like the whole financial industry because I'm not coming from that background. But I felt like being building Kite for the last few years in the payment industry. I can definitely I can definitely say confidently that payment is all about distribution. So the more like the bigger the tribe and the partners that especially from distribution channel perspective you can have, the higher chance you can win the game. So I think that's definitely we're aligned. Awesome. I think we're getting to very end of the show, and really appreciate all the great insights that Hojin you are sharing with us. And I guess to kind of like close the what we are talking about today. Curious if any like a final yeah just any final outlook that you want to share with the team. Let's say looking from 3 to 5 years ahead. Uh, what do you feel Korea could show to the rest of the world about AI agent, stablecoin, or even like regulated financial infrastructures? Curious about again another prediction question. Sorry, but yeah.
No worries. Yeah, I think it's a ambition rather than prediction. But yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that as covered throughout this podcast, Korea is has very unique point, and it could be a very good reference to other rest of the world, excluding US and China. And then because we are not a big country, and we are quite what's say early adopted country, and who is investing into AI. So right, every single country would also care AI, but they cannot invest all the money like US and China. We cannot build, right? And every other country need to find what will be their next step. And I think uh, in because the payment part is very let's say fundamental layer for every single countries and sovereigns. It could be treated as a sovereignty issue because, for example, if in wartime, if my some countries' payment infrastructure is depended by some other country, it could be a problem, right? So I think uh, the other countries also not only in a regulator perspective, in a conglomerate perspective, in a customer perspective, in a startup perspective, they would face some similar the questions that now Koreans are trying to solve and Koreans are trying to explore. So what we ambition is if a Korean's restoration is done quite earlier than other country, and if a real adoption could be happen, uh, uh, and with the use cases not only for the domestic use cases but for the uh, cross border and abroad, and also for the agent, I think it could be a very good model reference to other countries. So what we are aiming to have is to make this a model reference for every single market participants and even regulators to we have think about this feature with this restriction and we made this one to be more to make more suitable the model to you and we are gonna try to make it more open manner. So the reason why we named our entity as hashed open finance is we believe the power of the openness, and we believe the power of the open API and also some open infrastructure. So yeah, what we try to do is to become the model and model reference. It would make a very huge interoperable ecosystem for the entire world. It would be beneficial for every single stakeholders in the market. So that would be our very 3 or 5 long-term vision and target. But as a short term, yeah, we are monitoring the restoration process and try to build and try to listen the pain points what every single partner have, and just we propose, just like we propose with the Maroo, we try to build this infrastructure layer, which is more the domestic currency native and Agentic native, and also fully compliant. And actually, Maroo is actually, it's a Korean word for platform. So the in the Korean house, the platform part is called Maroo. So
Oh,
yeah. So we try to make the open platform for a Korean infrastructure, and we believe that this could be an open platform for every rest of the world who are also following this new innovative topic for their next gen infrastructure.
awesome. Thank you so much, Hojin. And really, honestly, I highly respect the work that you guys have done. I felt not, like Korea, obviously, like you mentioned, is one of the countries that I felt has made a lot of progress in the show. It has been actually stay at this very frontier wave of AI and blockchain financial infra innovations, and obviously you guys have many other things like chips and like robotics. I think are all great industries. You guys have both retails and institutions, which again make you guys a very unique market that definitely has a lot of potential. And meanwhile, I felt Hashed definitely has been putting a lot of effort and contributed very heavily to help shape the future and like a future shape of the financial infrastructure and system in both Korean and outside of Korean. So definitely looking forward to how like the when the mainnet launch from Mara has going, and looking forward to potentially strike partnerships with you guys from both stablecoin and Agentic commerce perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Because we believe that Kite is also sharing the same vision on the the arrival point of view. So we in a agentic infrastructure. So for example, the Kite passport has a quite similar features what we have imagined, and something like that. So we definitely, and as a backer, we will try to really support it to your journey and our journey, because as mentioned, we prepare a open manner, so we look forward to have more partnership with you guys to build this agentic native infrastructure for a future generation.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Definitely looking forward to that. And really appreciate your time again, Hojin. And yeah, it's the end of the show, and hope you have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you for the time again. Thank you.
Thank you. And also thank you for the listeners
Yeah,
to attend this.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.